Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome to a very special ad hoc edition of This is a Revolution, your weekly Revolution Pro Wrestling podcast that this week is coming to you twice. That's right, twice this week, because Dave and I have a wonderful guest here with us today. Most of you will have seen this match announced and been like, this match looks like a piece of me. This match is going to be hard hitting. This, my friends, is one called Manders. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey man, I'm good. I'm finally in my Airbnb. I got some Zens right here for me, and then yeah, we're just I don't have any beer yet. I was gonna get some for this podcast, but my Uber driver, I didn't wanna I didn't want to kiss his ass, and I didn't want to make him feel bad. Here we are.
Nice. Well, I think on Uber Eats over here, most of them will do like they can go to a Tesco or somewhere like that, and they can get beer for you, so you can just bring it to your hotel or Airbnb or wherever you're staying, and just not have to worry about it.
So is Tesco a grocery store?
Tesco it's a very very big, and depending on where you'd be staying, you'd probably find one quite near where you are. I know in Stevenage, for instance, there is a massive Tesco.
Cool, because I totally ran into it and went into it today to buy more of these Zins, and I didn't even realize it was a grocery store. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I like. Yeah, I've never been to I've been to the UK one time, and I went, and this doesn't even count. It was like is a connecting on London Heathrow, like when GCW did Germany for
Yeah.
the now first time ever being in Europe. So I'm walking, because today I just went straight tourist, like sightseeing. So I was walking back to the hotel. So when I walk back to the hotel, I see this. It looks like a convenience store. It looked like CVS, Walgreens,
Hmm.
whatever. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Like I can go in here." And then it says like "Do not entry," and I realized that it's a one way for when you buy your stuff, you leave.
Yeah.
And then one of the homeless guys sits there and he goes, "Oh, you just wait for until somebody opens and you just come in." And I just laughed. I was like, "Okay." So I walked in and I realized I was like, "Oh shit, this is a grocery store." So yeah, I'm pumped about it. I'll
Yeah.
definitely.
We have a chain over here which would probably the most like a Walgreens or a CVS is it's called Superdrug, and it's like a bit of a mixture of everything. It's like you go in there if you want to get your prescription medications, if you want to go and get yourself a lunchtime meal deal, which being in the UK you have to get yourself a meal deal. Or first of all, actually, before I go on, have you ever heard of a meal deal before?
I've I've had probably something similar to it because so where I come from in Iowa, you there's a place called Hy-Vee. It's a big grocery store, and they have like a lunch, like diner kind of breakfast area.
Yeah.
During certain times of the day, you can get like a like something like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I haven't had it here, but I'm probably gonna do that tomorrow now that you say it. That sounds
Absolutely.
like deal.
Tesco meal deal is the one. You can get yourself a sandwich, a bag of crisps, a chocolate bar, and a drink, all for about £3.50. So it's pretty good going. And there's a wrestler. I'm not sure if you might be aware of man like Dereiss.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
he
Been on
king
plenty of
of the
shows.
meal deal.
He's great, man. I fucking love his. I love what he does. Him and he wrestled Gringo Loco in
Mm.
Detroit at Harpo's, which is like a famous like music venue. It's the drizzling shit, so there's no AC. It's hot as fuck.
Oh,
Anyway, for for the first like God, it was probably like 5 to 8 minutes of the match. They're just the crowd's just going Gringo Loco. Oh, 1, 2, 1, Gringo. You can touch it, and I'm sitting here just like, this dude is so over. It's not even funny.
yeah, I love how like just how it's caught on in America. Like he's such a great guy, and I actually seeing like his progression kind of in the ring and building that up as well, and the
Yeah.
character and the way he connects music to wrestling as well. It's unlike anything that I see on the independents right now, and seeing how
No,
that's
no
connecting
one.
stateside is so cool.
There's no one like that, and that's the thing. It's like, and you guys would probably agree with this. Like wrestling and music go very hand in hand together, and
Yeah.
him. I think because he did shows before the collective for Mania week.
Mhm.
I think that spot he did with God, what is her name? I'm drawing a blank.
The
My
Viva,
brain's
Viva
been
Van?
yes, and my brain's been so cooked because this we could get into it later, or you see me all piss and vinegar. But yeah, like ever since that spot, because everyone saw it. It was like worldwide. It exploded on
Yeah.
on social media. I feel like ever since then, he really like the fans really gravitated to him and really caught on, and you could tell in the ring someone that's like so confident of what he's doing, and it's
Mhm.
cool. I dig man like Dereiss. I
Yeah.
really do.
He's
Really do.
fantastic, but he's really known over here as, apart from the great wrestling he brings, he is a connoisseur of the Tesco meal deal, and people will send him pictures of their meal deals, and he will rate them so much so that Progress, they do a tournament called Super Strong Style 16, and after the Super Strong Style
Yeah.
16, he did one with fans, and my co-host Dave here, he was actually one of the people that was included in this tournament of best meal deals. It was
Hell yeah.
yeah, quite something.
Did you
I
win?
made it through to the second round. I beat Amira, who Michael
Bullshit.
Oku's valet. I managed to get past her in the first round, and then I lost in the second round to Leighton Buzzard, who I'm sure you will meet over this weekend through RevPro, who's recovering from injury at the moment and is currently doing commentary while his knee recovers. But yeah, no, it was. Dereiss is absolutely the connoisseur of the meal deal, and the best thing about the meal deal is you have to try and get as much value for money as possible.
Yes.
So if you can get like a coffee as your drink, if you can get like the most expensive chocolate bar or the most expensive snack or like protein bar or something like that, then you know that you've won the meal deal because you've ended up paying £3.50 or £4 for about 10 quid's worth of food.
Wow. I'm pretty psyched about this. So what was your meal deal? What was it?
So do you know what? My meal deal was it was really, really random. It
Terrible.
was the day of Fantasticomania UK at York
Yes.
Hall in Bethnal Green. And I went to a co-op with a wrestler in the UK called Jordan Saeed. We went for a stroll together and we're just shooting the shit along the way. And we got meal deals together. And my problem was, and I said this to him, they had so much choice. And when I'm faced with too much choice, I end up choosing the weirdest options. So I ended up with a curry wrapped inside a naan bread with a side of sushi and an iced latte. So yeah, I think I got value for money, but it was definitely it was a really, really hot day as well. So there I was standing in the queue for York Hall eating my sushi from the co-op and my naan bread curry.
That is some. Mine's recently changed up. I either go for southern fried chicken pasta, and then we have a great drink of it. My family's Scottish, so I drink the national drink, a drink called Iron Brew, which if you ever see it, it's just bright orange. Try some if you're here, Iron Brew, and then just a protein bar I usually get with mine. And recently I've actually changed it up as well. They do a nice spicy bean and cheese wrap, which is like very Tex-Mex style. One of those with a pot of little mini Scotch eggs. Now that's
I might be into that. Anything Tex-Mex, I'm all about it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Just the right amount of spice that you want for a sandwich at lunchtime. That's not gonna cause any issues if you catch my drift. So yeah. Excellent. Oh, good. Well, yeah, and there you go. Like, so you can go to Tesco, you can get your meal deal, and then so Tesco is probably so you've got two versions of Tesco. You have what's called like a Tesco Metro, which is very small, almost convenience store style sort of size, and then you have the big ones, which is just Tesco. I think they're called Tesco Extra, and that's like a big kind of Walmart, almost like Walmart, Target, something of that sort of size. And you can just go in there and you can get everything. You can go and get your electrical goods. You can go and buy some clothes, and then you can go buy some ice cream and get a meal deal and whatever you want from there. So
yeah, anything. If it's anything Walmart, it's definitely up my alley because
yeah.
back at home, Walmart is king in Tennessee, so that's like all I go to now.
Yeah, no, I've only ever been to Walmart once when I've been out stateside. My thing is, as soon as I land, I have a ritual with my wife, right? So we've been lucky enough to be to the States a few times, and we get to our hotel, and then the first thing we do is we get an Uber to the local Target, and then we just go and fill up with things that we want for our room while we're there. And we go, right, let's go and get our snacks we have in our room, and then we get back. That's literally the first thing we do every time. Doesn't matter where we go. I'm there on Uber straight away. Go, come on. Let's get to Target. Let's get what we need. And usually you'll find me in the Oreo section looking at all of these exotic flavors that we just don't get over here. I usually find everything out there I can get with peanut butter flavor, which I love. So I'm in my element when I go over.
Peanut butter rules.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah.
I tried the soda last night. What is it called? It's basically like a Coke with like orange Fanta. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I'm drawing a blank. Something with the M. I don't want to say mellow yellow because that's totally not it, obviously. But it's I had that at Five Guys yesterday. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
I'm gonna look this up, see if I can find it. Mezzo Mix, is that?
Yes, that's what it is.
Oh, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I saw it in Germany when I was at Carrot a couple months ago, and then I remember this, but I don't remember like trying it. I was like, let me try it. I was like, might as well, and I tried it, and it was pretty good, so I was into it. I tried when I went to Tesco today. I tried the Pepsi electrolyte one. Not very good for me, at least.
I've heard from a lot of people that's not very good.
Like cough medicine with carbonated water.
A lot of people said very similar things. I'd recommend the Pepsi Max. So Pepsi Max is kind of like a Coke Zero sort of. I don't know if you get that in America now, but
Pepsi Max. Jesus. I tried that in Japan not too long ago, and I was like, yeah, that was great. So.
Yeah. That's my drink of choice. If I'm not getting an iron brew, if I'm not going full sugar and I want to try and live a bit of a healthier lifestyle, then I'll go with a Pepsi Max Cherry, and that is the one that sees me through. So, yeah.
Oh. Pepsi
anything
Cherry
is healthier than iron brew.
I mean,
anything.
Pepsi Max. There we go. So. Oh, nice. So overall, then, this is the first time you've been to the UK, then. So what have been? I mean, outside of going to a shop and a homeless person telling you to wait until someone opens the door for you, how was London? How did you enjoy your time?
So it started off rocky, obviously, because I missed progress, and I'm still pissed about it, to be quite honest, but I'm not trying to show it, but I'm going to show it here for a second. I'm going to stop my bitching, and I'm just going to continue living. That was my saying of the day. Cause I was like, I'm gonna go see fucking London because I've never been here before. So I went to see Tower of London. I went to see Big Ben. I went to the Camden Markets and found the Electric Ballroom, which is funny. It made me laugh. I was like, oh, the venue. Oh, okay. Hey guys, I made it. It's 24 hours later.
What was it? Better late than never, they say, right?
Better late than never, right? Yeah, so I saw that, and then it was sick. Like you saw, you walk around all the gift shops and stuff, and it reminded me of it reminded me of Atlantic City for like GCW, where like you see the boardwalk and you got like all the gift shops and stuff, like the Jersey Shore. Or any of the beach towns on the East Coast, and the West Coast probably have it too. Where you just got all these gift shops and stuff, and it's pretty cool. I feel like Atlantic City gets a bad rep, but it's a fucking good time. So Camden Markets was cool. It was great. I enjoyed it. I bought some stuff. I bought some Motorhead shirts. I wanted to buy the one where it's got Lemmy on the front, and then the back it says, 49% motherfucker, 51% son of a bitch. And I think that's like one of the coolest lines that Lemmy's ever did.
Yeah.
And they didn't have my size, so I bought 2 other shirts, and then I bought this bracelet. It's like moss agate. I bought one for me and one for Sawyer Wreck, because if you guys don't know a little much about Sawyer Wreck, she loves rocks, and she likes moss agate. So I was like, I'm doing this. So
Win-win. Nice. Yeah, Camden is such a unique little area as well. Like when you are in like the centre of London, you see what's like there. And then you go to Camden. The way that I described it is like I used to go to a lot of music festivals, a lot of rock festivals. And it just felt like if you go to a rock festival campsite, that's what Camden feels like to me. Like you're just in it, the sounds, the smells, everything. I mean, all it takes is for a bit of barbecue smell, and I say I'm back there at the campsite. So
yeah, that was cool. So I enjoyed that. It's funny, my Uber driver today, when I got to Stevenage tonight, I was telling him about it, and he was like, I was telling him like it was pretty rowdy, and he's like, think about this. You think that was rowdy? This is a Monday, and he's like, just imagine if you were there on a Saturday. And it dawned on me, like, holy shit, it's probably insane.
Yeah,
so I can't imagine. I'm sure yesterday was probably insane. I don't know.
Yeah, I know that the queues that queue up. So like you'll have seen, I imagine, like a lot of the market stalls out front by the Electric Ballroom entrance, and it's very easy to like miss that when you're there. And how you spot it is right across the street from it. The guys will queue up down the street for about, some of them get there about 11 o'clock in the morning, and the doors don't open till 2 o'clock. Like they just stand out and wait because they want to get in, they want to get their first spots, and that progress, like that's one of the things that I've noticed about what they do differently to some maybe what the RevPro fan base, because a lot of these big shows for RevPro you can get assigned seats, so you don't have to be there and hope you can get your favorite spot. And me and Dave, we've done this before at one of the venues that we go to. So Dave lives in a different area of the country to what I live in, but we go to some of the same shows, and we've got a friend who is down in the same area, so we would go at about like 12 o'clock and we just stand there for like 3 hours, have a bit of a social, have a bit of a hangout, chat, and just see friends, which is like one of the nice things that waiting for the wrestling can bring you, right? Like, and that was when we had to, if we got there early, we could get our best seats and we could sit where we want. So I'm quite looking forward to the fact that Stevenage, we're not going to have to do that because it's assigned seating. So I can enjoy a Nando's beforehand, which if you've not got on your list, that's another thing that you need to try is Nando's. I'm sure you've heard all about it.
100%.
I saw it a couple times, and I was gonna go to it a couple times, but then I was like, nah, I'll go at the right moment when I feel it. So I'll definitely do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
definitely a pre-show meal or a post-show meal. Nando's, like, especially if you go with like some of the boys together and go and get meals together. It's such like, it's become a wrestling tradition in this country, I think.
Yeah,
it has. All right.
It's funny because when we went to the last show in London, I took my wife likes the Nando's, and I do as well. So I took her to Nando's before the show, and we're sitting in this little booth, and then Oscar and Yuto from Youngbloods, they came in and sat in the booth right behind us, and my wife just turned around to me and went, "Oh, we can't talk about wrestling now, can we?" Because she didn't want to seem like she was just trying to chat away about it. And I was like, but then you see like some of the others like coming in, and there was Trevor Lee came in and he was sitting over, and I was like, I recognise that guy, and I was like, is that Trevor Lee? And then I saw the Baltimore Ravens shirt, and I was like, that's Trevor Lee, and it was just like quite nice. Like you said, you get to see a lot of these people at these things, and you just leave them be, have their food, let them get relaxed before the show, and go out and watch them put on banger performances.
Fucking Trevor Lee, man. So before he was signed to WWE, he was obviously on the Indies, and when I first started, which was like 7 years ago, he was like one of the like people that I just like was like, that guy is gonna be something someday. I don't know when or how or what, but like he, he can do all the moves. He does cool shit, but he can also fucking talk his ass off, and he says some of the funniest shit. And Trevor Lee rules.
I'm not gonna lie, like the fact of how great shape that guy is in, what he can do in the ring, how he can talk, and how fucking handsome the guy is as well. Like genuinely, no one should be allowed to have it all, really, should they? But he has, and I really want to see big things for him. Like he had a match against Luke Jacobs at the last show that I went to in London, and it was just fantastic. Like you knew it was going to be good. But it kind of just blew expectations away of what it could be. And yeah, such a good show.
Luke's a fucking tank, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really is.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to wrestling him again at RevPro. We did it at 16 Carat, and it was fucking great. It was a great match. And like for two people that have never wrestled before against each other, it just just made sense. So I can't imagine what this one's going to be like.
Yeah, he's such a good wrestler.
The moment that you were announced as coming over for these two shows, so we knew you were coming before we knew who you were wrestling. and George and I were literally straight away, we're just like, Luke Jacobs, 100%. We want one called Manders versus Luke Jacobs. It's the match. It's the match for you.
Yes. To be fair, I didn't know who I was wrestling either. So I knew I was booked for both days. And in my brain, I'm like, it has to be Luke for one of them at least, right? It has to be. You'd be a fool if you didn't. And so I didn't know either until they announced it.
But it's such a great kind of match to have because we were talking about it yesterday, and a lot of the matches on the show will be in the J Cup, so it's a lot of cruiserweight style matches. So this is going to be that big hard hit match. And you said something earlier that Dave and I love saying on this podcast, and if you watch this back, you'll have seen when you said it, Dave had a little wry smile, and I did as well. Dave and I love the phrase piss and vinegar, right? That we talk about piss and vinegar a lot. So when you said that, we were like, yes, this is what it's all about. Just two hard hitting dudes going in there and hitting each other fucking hard. That's going to be an incredible match, right?
Yes. You think that first half of the show, we've got Leo Rush, Robbie Eagles, Dante Martin, Robbie X, Barbaro Cavanario, Cameron Kai, Kid Lycos 2. So you've got 8 of the most talented cruiserweights anywhere in the world.
Yes.
And then we're going to have a little interval. Everyone's going to go and get a beer. Everyone's going to come back to their seat. And we're going to get Luke Jacobs versus one called Manders. And it's going to be all that high-flying and impressive kind of high-speed stuff. Put that to one side. We're going to beat the shit out of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. And look, the one thing that I can bet on with RevPro usually what is happening. I mean, look, I don't know how much you're aware of the wider RevPro roster, Manders, but RevPro, like the scene here in the UK, especially over the last few years, RevPro for me is the standard bearer. And this is why Dave and I talk about this. Dave is a RevPro superfan, historian, all of these words wrapped into one, and goes to pretty much every show that RevPro does all around the country, week in, week out when it's on. He'll go to all of them. And Dave has helped really foster this community of people. Like, I'm so much more into RevPro because I've got people like Dave who inspire me. And also we've got the great wrestling that goes alongside it, like people like your Michael Oku's, your JJ Gales, your Luke Jacobs, who come in and put week in, week out great performances. So we already know the standards can be really high. And then Luke himself is also one of those guys that over the last year and a half, 2 years, has just become almost the standard bearer. You put Luke Jacobs in, you know it's going to be a great match. And I still say Tomohiro Ishii versus Luke Jacobs is probably my favorite independent match I've been there live for. And that was including Will Ospreay and Shingo Takagi following that as well. But it was just my favorite, like just the emotion, the energy in the building. So, and it kind of made me realize that, hey, maybe what I really like about wrestling is big dudes that can smack the fuck out of each other and who can throw each other around, suplex each other, and tell a great story that is brutal. It's emotion. It's all of the great stuff that comes with it. So, yeah, man, I'm really excited to see this match.
Yeah, I for a guy like me who like has the football background, right? And like one of the big things, like when I learned, like when you learn like how to play football and like stuff like that is tape study. And like so like knowing and doing that your whole life and then like transitioning into wrestling and like I am a uh tape studier where like when I first started wrestling, I didn't know about like this promotion, that promotion, this promotion, but I figured I like deep dived and you figure it out along the way, but I figured it all out and or try to figure it all out, and I know like okay, this place is good, this place is good. What's this place like? This place is this. So like for me, for years, I've known that Rev Pro is literally the pinnacle or the like standard barrier or whatever you want to call it is like the marquee for British wrestling. So like me being here at Rev Pro was a goal and like being able to like be here is fucking awesome. And like yeah, I'm just excited about it. I really am. Really
Yeah,
am.
and the one thing that I can say from the years that I followed Rev Pro, if you come over, they give you a shot, and if you connect and you put on great matches, like there's opportunities there, and people come back, and this will be, I think, my third time seeing Leo Rush in Rev Pro, which for an indie in the UK is crazy, right? That like these guys are flown in, but it just shows that the great shows that are being put on, the great reactions from the crowd, and all of that stuff that kind of bring Rev Pro up. I wanted to just touch on something there, if you don't mind. You mentioned obviously about transitioning into wrestling. Were you someone who grew up liking wrestling, or was wrestling something you transitioned to after football?
I would say both. So like I always loved wrestling as a kid. I was always like, so when I was because I'm 30 now, so like when I was a kid, like Attitude Era was big, so or like Ruthless Aggression Era was big. So like when I was a kid, like it was Austin and Triple H and The Rock and and then you get like WCW side, which for me like what I remember was like 98, 99. So that's probably when like WCW kind of
Yeah.
but like you had Sting and you had NWO and Booker T and fucking guys like that. So then like I went in all of that, and then like teen like once like we all know the history, but then like when WCW stopped and like TNA became a thing, I became a huge TNA fan because like you had a lot of WCW guys, and like for me living in kind of the southeast at the time, like Maryland, Virginia area, like TNA was kind of big country, like so like having Jeff Jarrett and Sting and then you meet like new guys like AJ Styles and fucking Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels, and then like all of a sudden like Ring of Honor is like a thing, so then you start watching that. So then like I was always a big wrestling fan, and then I started growing a little bit. So like I started going to high school and I was worried about football and girls. So like I wasn't really caring about wrestling at that point. So there was like a peak around like '07 to probably 2014, I would say. I didn't really watch wrestling as much as I did when I was a kid. And then I feel like when the network became a thing is when I like went fucking all back in again and fell in love with it all again. So then at that time I was in college playing football at Iowa. So then like I was watching the network, and then like Sting, returns to wrestling, but like he's in the WWE for the first time. So then that like really like put me really into it. And then the Cruiserweight Classic started happening, and then me and the boys in football would watch that, and we'd watch Lucha Underground because it was on Netflix. So then like it's just like I went down this rabbit hole, and long story short, I one of my strength coaches, he was kind of like he's an older guy. He was like a big 80s wrestling fan.
Mhm.
So like my nickname was Mankind because I guess because Manders and Mankind, and also
Sure.
like I played fucking fullback, so like I was basically like a car crash. So like Mick Foley's theme music was a car crash. So like it kind of all makes sense in some
Makes
aspects.
sense.
So like he was telling me that, Big E was coming to town. So Big E played football at Iowa.
Okay.
He played around like he's way older than me, but he played way before me.
Can I just say, can we stop having the way older? Because I think Big E's like a year younger than me, so we'll have enough of that way older.
I'm sorry.
Hey, don't worry. I know I'm old.
Routinely gets ribbed for the fact that he's the oldest guy on our podcast. Sorry, guys. I love you.
Sorry, I interrupted you there, Manders.
Oh no, it's fine. That was fucking funny. I won't say that anymore. So I met Big E because he was checking out the new facilities, because when he was playing football, we had like a smaller facility, and the new one now is like 42,000 square feet. So whatever. I know our metric system is fucked compared to y'all's, but it's a very big. It's very big. Is what I'm getting at, and we were just shooting the shit, and he was just like, I hear you're a big wrestling fan and all this stuff, and he was like, if you really want to get into it, which I did, and he was, because I knew I wasn't going to play in the NFL. I'm too fucking slow, and I'm too fucking I'm too short, right? So like, anyway, besides the point, he was telling me Seth Rollins has a school, and I was like, yeah, I've heard about it, but at that time, this is like 2016, 17, kind of. I think it was 2016. Black and Brave was only around for like a year, and so like, because at that time I thought like like a credible school kind of is what you want.
Of course,
but
yeah.
We'll get into that later. Where like, so basically him saying that, and the school was only like 40 minutes from the University of Iowa, so I just like light bulb went on. I was like, we're doing this. So after I enrolled in the school or whatever, we played in the Outback Bowl, which is like a bowl game at the end of the year, which like that night, which actually it's funny, that bowl game, they had like Rollins was there, Titus O'Neil was there, because we played Florida that year. So like Titus O'Neil played there, and then Rollins is a big Iowa fan, obviously, and then like Big E was there because he played at Iowa, and then they had a couple other WWE guys. And that night it was on a Monday, and that night was Monday Night Raw in Tampa. So I just was like, we got like tickets for that, like they hooked us up, Rollins did, and then literally like 3 days later, flew back on a plane, and instead of staying home for 2 weeks or whatever for winter break or whatever you want to call it, I was like, I'm gonna go do this wrestling thing. So I went to the wrestling school and like went through like the tryout thing and whatever, which is basically just CrossFit, like trying to kill people. And for me, having a football background, like I'm not saying it was a walk in the park, because it fucking wasn't, but like you seeing guys that are lack of a better word, they're just there because Seth Rollins is there, kind of thing. And I just knew right then and there, I was like, I'm doing this. And I just went all fucking in. So that's kind of how I transitioned into wrestling.
That's really cool how that kind of just happened to, like, it's one of those scenarios where you want to call it fate or just right place, right time. Like all of those connections that you built there and have been built kind of generations before in school and stuff. That's really cool. And I would argue as well that down period that you had where you weren't watching wrestling, man, that was a rough period anyway. So you had a great. Right? I had the same. So I'm when I first started getting in late 80s, early 90s. That was my era, growing up watching the Rockers and Bret Hart, and then I started going to high school and stuff like that. So again, I'm not watching wrestling. And then I was around 15. My friend said to me, "There's this really cool guy. His name is Edge. You need to check out what he's about." Like, and that was it. 15 years old, I fell in love with it all again, and I'm now 40 and I haven't fallen out of love with it yet. So my patience has been tried at times where I've just gone, it doesn't feel like what is out there is for me. And now this independent wrestling has opened up a world to me that I knew a bit about. So you mentioned TNA, and we had a promotion here in like 2005 who had links with TNA. So back then, we used to get Jeff Jarrett over here, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, Christian Cage with the TNA or the NWA belt, all of that. They used to all come out here, and I used to travel 7 hours on the train up to the other end of the country and go and watch there. So actually, RevPro have got an event there in October, and I can't wait to go back. It's just so many great memories. That period, like you said, TNA was just, I think it really woke people up to a new style of wrestling, didn't they?
It really was. Was that promotion 1PW?
It was 1PW, yes, yeah. Infamous in this country.
I am I don't know how I remembered that, but yeah.
There's your study artistic of the one called Manders right there.
Yeah, if you ever watch some of the shows back, you might actually be able to spot Andy Quilden from RevPro, who was a referee at the time. And I think Andy's a couple of years younger than me. And when I was going to these shows, I was like 21, 22. So you'll see a very young. In fact, I will send you a DM on Twitter later, and I've got a picture of Andy in the ring, very, very young. But it's crazy, right? You go to these shows, you see these guys like your AJ Styles, and AJ was one of the nicest guys I've ever met at a merch table. Like, was just so nice and so generous to me, and like that kind of at the time made me love indie wrestling. And now RevPro is doing the same. But things like having Fight TV and getting Fight Plus has opened the world to me for things like GCW, which, look, it's a mixed bag of wrestling. Right? There's a lot of different stuff going on. Not everything's for me. Some is, some isn't. But it means that what I can do is I can pay my $6 a month and I can go, this match looks cool. This guy's looks cool. And I said to you privately that this is how I discovered who you were. Me and my wife were watching a Revolver show, I think it was. Might have been GCW. And I can't even remember what it was. We came out and we went, he's fucking cool. And that was basically, that was it. It was like, he's a badass, he's cool. And yeah, that was enough for us. Like, that was a good $6 paid, because again, it's opened up the world to another wrestler who, if they come over to the UK, and having that sort of stuff available to us means that while we said privately, like, there's a huge portion of our audience will know who you are. And there will be a huge portion that won't, because they are just so hyper-focused. I mean, Dave, I think I mentioned to you, I'm the one that kind of delves into little bits here and there. Dave is someone who concentrates so much on RevPro, New Japan, because Dave wants the full experience of it. So we're two very different people in a way, but we're both kind of coming out with all this ability to watch new people, and just fall in love with wrestling all over again.
That's awesome. I think so. I've never met Andy. But I've messaged him. Obviously, that's how I'm here and all that.
Do you get replies from him then? Do you?
I do. Yes.
Damn it! Must be nice.
Is it as quick as you think it is? No, it's not. So
I believe you.
So Andy, to me, and this is my opinion from my experiences, to me, GCW and RevPro are very similar. And I don't mean by, maybe not the matches and shit like that, but like, because like GCW is more, hardcore, kind of matchy in a way, but like, they both run a fuck ton, right? And then like, they both run a fuck ton, I feel like. And then both Brett, the promoter for GCW, and Andy, they're both a one-man band. So they're the ones that like really, like, it's really just them that are running this whole thing. I mean, obviously there's a lot of other parts. Yeah. And like and then learning about Andy, and then you saying, he was a ref, Brett was also a ref, so like 1PW was like a big promotion back then, and then when Brett was a ref for CZW, which was also a big ass deal in America.
Yeah, of course.
So it's funny the similar blends of each other, and then also them not really responding very, very well.
But I mean, that's it, though, isn't it? It's like it's a passion project for them. Like it's something that it's not just a way for them to make a buck, right? Like from everything I've heard, and again, not in the business, but from everything I've heard, if you want to make a buck, you don't do it by being a wrestling promoter, right? And that's the rule. You do it because you love it. And like Andy, a few years ago, did a podcast which Dave and I have listened to, like about 50 episodes, where he just talks about what he does, and it's so cool. Like my very first experience with Andy was. So I'm very much like, I need to have all my ducks in a row. Like if I'm going to a show, I need to have my ticket, and my ticket didn't come through, and I'm panicking before the show. It's a big show. Bret the Hitman Hart's on it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to see Bret Hart, all this stuff. And I didn't have a ticket. Like it didn't come through. And Andy was the guy that came out front and gave me my ticket. I had no idea he was the promoter, and like he was the guy. So that's why, like, when people say trust in Andy, like I've got so much trust in the guy and what he does, and you can tell he loves what he does, and he puts all his energy into it. And seeing how RevPro has grown over here, because I have seen like shows where you've maybe gone, okay, it's certainly talent is much heavier skewed to the top of the card, whereas now you can go through pretty much any card and go, this could be match of the night. And that's what we're saying, looking at Saturday's show. Like the Cruiserweight tournament, or sorry, the J Cup could very well, they could have the matches of the night. Equally, JJ Gale and Zazaya could, you and Luke Jacobs could. Like there is just no limit to what it could be, and that's what's really exciting as well about RevPro.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that too. Yeah, and Brett's. I keep comparing Brett and Andy because they I feel like they're like the same person. Brett's the same way too. Where like there'll be people that'll, whether the wrestlers or fans, they'll come up to me and be like, "Hey, who's the promoter, or who's Brett?" And then it's this little guy over here, and it's kind of funny. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. It's really cool.
Yeah, we've been to events in Southampton, which is my local one that I go to, and it's like a small club almost, and we'll get there early enough, and the van will pull up with the ring in, and Andy's there driving the van, and like it's that sort of stuff that makes you think, I want to I really enjoy this. I want to help it succeed, and that's actually a big part of why this podcast came about, because we love RevPro. Like, unironically, it's probably, I know it is Dave's, and it's probably my favorite promotion anywhere in the world. That's including your AEWs, WWEs, all of that. It's my favorite wrestling. It's just everything about it's great, and we just want to do what we can to help promote it and give the people who are there a platform to just people to know who they are. Like, they don't need our help doing that, of course, but just give that opportunity to help in any way we can. That's what we're really about.
I love it. That's awesome. Another thing about what I like about RevPro for me, because like I don't really say it a lot. I don't really talk about it a lot. But like when people ask me like, what's the end all goal? And like I really don't know what it is, because for me I love wrestling, so it doesn't really matter. And and I make a living with it now and all these things, but like RevPro and the new like the working relationship with RevPro and New Japan is pretty sick. And for me, and I'm sure like Luke Jacobs thinks this way. Oh, I know he thinks this way because we've talked about it. And and like me and Gabe Kidd, we've wrestled, and he's one of their guys. And like New Japan for me is like, that's like, I would never work for these other places, but like New Japan for me is like my WWE. That's what I want to do. Yeah. So to be here,
I always feel like people always talk about AEW and WWE being like two alternatives, and you're either a WWE fan or you're an AEW fan, or you're a fan of both or you're a fan of neither. But I've always felt that they're both really similar. They're both TV American wrestling companies. And although there are differences, the products are still very similar. And it's like, if you want a real alternative, go and watch New Japan.
Yep.
Because that is completely different. to American TV wrestling, and it's what I love. I fell in love with New Japan. New Japan having Will Ospreay carrying the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship was sort of like, what's that? I wasn't even really aware of British wrestling. So I looked it up and then was like, oh, okay, they run shows in London. I'm about an hour and a half from London. I'll go watch one of their shows. I went to a show at York Hall in Bethnal Green in 2022 in February, and I've basically been to every single show since.
God damn.
So, in fact,
He's not even kidding.
Your match with Luke Jacobs will be my 50th Luke Jacobs match in 2.5 years.
That's fucking awesome. That's
and
awesome.
I'm very I can't think of a better match to have. I'm bringing my little girl with me on Saturday, and she'll sit there and she will watch Leo Rush and she'll watch Dante Martin and all of those guys, and she'll be really impressed and excited. You guys will scare her because she will sit and watch you, and she will be like, "He's really hurting him. He's really, really hurting him." I can tell because she gets closer and closer to me. And she watched a Gabe Kidd match last year, and she ended up sitting on my lap because she was like, "I don't like it. He's too scary."
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, and then you're sitting over there excited, and she's scared as shit. That's fucking awesome. I wrestled Dante Martin when he first started. He did a lucha gimmick. It was
Was that when he was the Lucha Angel?
Yeah, he was Angel Dorado. Yeah. We did
now his Twitter handle makes much more sense to me now.
Yeah, him and his brother, I think his brother's lucha name was Airwolf. So I remember that. So being like Iowa, like an Iowa kid like me, trained by Black and Brave, and then they were trained by Eric Cannon, and like Cannon and Rollins go way back, right? So like we had like the Minnesota Iowa rivalry kind of thing. So like when I first started, I wrestled both of them a lot, and it's cool to see him now, and it's kind of funny like to me where it's like I didn't even know he was on the show, and then they announced him, and I'm like, fuck, that's sick. Like, it's funny how, just two Midwest kids, I mean, obviously he's TV and he's signed all that shit, but two Midwest kids both going to be in the UK for a show. It's kind of cool.
I think as well, that's what screams like the world of wrestling too, because like you've said, like we can ask you that cliche, what is your ultimate goal, right? And we're not going to do that question because that's boring as shit, because you're going to go, oh, it'd be this or that, and that's it, right? There's no delving into it. And you might not know, and you might just go, it's this. But you've got like so many options. Like Dave said, you've got New Japan, which RevPro have a relationship with New Japan, right? RevPro having relationships with places like, I mean, obviously not for you, but Stardom, the CMLL. There's all these places that RevPro have got relationships with. AEW are also doing a lot of the same things, and there are like partnerships you can see. Like this year alone, RevPro have had Orange Cassidy, Dante Martin, Leo Rush, MJF, like just the ones that come straight off the top of my head, all over here. And that's the great thing about having like an alternative to WWE's way of business. Maybe not the type of product, but the way of business, where, hey, they're allowing people to do that. So there's no reason why you couldn't pop up in an AEW doing a match against someone. I mean, I'm just going to put out there one called Manders versus Jon Moxley. Let's do that one.
That's been a dingled carrot for years, man.
That would be, yeah.
Fucking.
It's what I loved about the TNT Championship when it was first introduced.
Yeah.
And you just didn't know who was going to turn up. And, you know, from like Eddie Kingston cutting that promo, and then a couple of weeks later, it's Warhorse there. And it's just, it was so unpredictable and really exciting. I'd like to think that there's a way of getting back to that. I don't know if they've got to a point now where they've just got so many wrestlers that it must be difficult to keep bringing in guys for it. But there's definitely there's definitely interest in it.
Yeah, there definitely has been a change in that, huh? It's not even just like TNT. It's really like everywhere. I don't know if it's so. I have like theories on it. Like I wonder if it's because before the pandemic, you had all that, and then pandemic hits, and then it seems now, whether it's financial reasons or whatever else it may be, like all these places that were like big, like surprise people like that, and like indie darlings and like all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like you still have those things. Like there's exceptions to the rule, but like it seems like now like a lot of promotions they have like their own guys. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is funny how like the wheel has turned into that, and it doesn't mean that it'll definitely go back to.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, I have noticed those things, and it for me like because like 2019 for me was like my like coming out party kind of thing where like I was wrestling a lot of places, and obviously in the pandemic no one was really fucking wrestling, but like there was that scare of like I like, and this was even like before GC, like I was wrestling for GCW, but I wasn't a GCW guy like per se. So then it's like there was like the scare of like, fuck, where am I gonna go? Like it's not like I like. Well, I mean now it's different, right? Because like it's like I am a GCW guy, but then like there was a time though where I was like, I'm not a guy for one particular company, so it's like, damn, like how's this gonna work? But it all works out in the end. So yeah, there was like that weird thought in your brain.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand that as well, but
or one part of a company that I personally really miss is New Japan Strong. I felt like that was one of the most underrated wrestling products, and it was probably the best single hour of wrestling a week. But it gave such great exposure to American wrestlers who really suit the Japanese style. And then you could see the bridge between wrestling for New Japan Strong and then going out to Japan. And we saw it with guys like Royce Isaacs, and the West Coast Wrecking Crew and Team Filthy, and like TJP was working New Japan Strong regularly, and then effectively has now moved what seems like permanently to Japan in terms of his wrestling. And it's just that's a route that I would love to see you be able to take, work in those American New Japan shows.
Me too. I hope someday it'll happen. I hope.
I always think when people talk about like their big milestone goals, I always think, for me, what I would love the most for all the wrestlers that I love watching, the thing that I would love to see them do the most is for them to work a G1.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like, the G1 is my favorite wrestling. I mean, it's not just my favorite wrestling tournament, but it's my favorite kind of wrestling event. If you think of it as a singular thing, and all I want to see is all my favorites. Like, I want to see Bryan Danielson work a G1. I want to, but all the way down to like, I want to see Luke Jacobs work a G1. I want to see Called Manders work a G1. I want to see everybody, because I think you get this unique chance to tell a story across 9 matches.
Yep.
But you've also got these like 20 guys telling their stories across 9 matches, and they all dovetail so beautifully. It's a really special thing.
I mean, you would agree with me. The G1 is the tournament in all of pro wrestling. I don't care what anybody says. Like maybe King of the Ring, I mean, there's so many tournaments, right? But like that G1 for me, there is no tournament that is that hard and that difficult and that prestigious where you have to, for a month, like wrestle at the highest peak, at the highest level. It's fucking awesome. And it reminds me of, and you probably agree with me too, like, and that's the thing that like makes me what makes me like New Japan is, you know, like Puresu wrestling or Japanese wrestling or whatever. Like you had the styles of like you had strong style, then you had King's Road, and then like me being a tape study guy, you like to maybe UK fans or American fans or whatever, like people don't know what the difference of that is. And then like for me, like even though I wasn't really born in that era, but like when I watch a lot of wrestling, a lot of my favorite wrestling is that Kings Road All Japan, and a lot of it's very, like um just that style. And then like obviously All Japan's not a thing. I mean, it's still a thing now, but it's not what it used to be. And then I feel like Gato and I feel like um, Rocky and like New Japan has like kind of blended the King's Road strong style into one. And then like when you watch New Japan now, it seems to be that way, and I think it's sick. And I think that's why I like it so much. If that makes any sense.
Oh, 100%. No, I completely agree. It's like I say, it's my favorite like style of wrestling, even though it incorporates so many like separate styles, but it's my favorite blend of styles. And it's like you think like there's a reason why the guys who work the G1 have that time off after the G1, because they put themselves through the ringer.
The ringer. You have to, because I think it's because it's it's treated like a sport, and I think that's because of me playing football all these years and playing sports my whole life and being a farm kid my whole life, where you put the work in, you sweat, and I'm not saying like people in WWE or AEW don't sweat and do the work or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. It's just I don't know the way they treat it over there.
It is a different like mindset. I really do feel like it is, because you can tell there are certain types of wrestler, like and all across the world. You could name a wrestler and you could say I don't need them to tell me. I know Claudio Castagnoli would love to work a G1.
Yeah,
because he's that type of wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
You knew Jon Moxley would love to work a G1. There are other wrestlers where you're like, yeah, they've probably never even thought about it, or they've looked at it and been like, it's not for them. But it's like a wrestler's wrestling tournament, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, me too. Me fucking too.
I think for me, the only thing that I hate about the G1, and I tried getting into it this year, is purely that I have a day job and I cannot keep up with. My wife has become the wrestling connoisseur in our house, so she started watching Black and Gold NXT with me, and then she has become the person who goes, "Are we going to sit down and watch RevPro today? Are we going to sit and watch this? We're going to watch this show." And sometimes we're like, I don't have time for wrestling. I'm just tired. I just want to watch a bit of TV. And I love wrestling, but she'll be so when the G1's on, she'll go, "Don't you watch it without me?" And then we fall behind. She goes out and plays badminton a few nights a week. She's out tonight, and so we wouldn't be able to sit and watch it tonight. We'd have to watch it the next day. And I get caught up. Go, no, I need to watch everything. But the bits that I did, Dave will tell you, I was like properly this year. I signed back up for New Japan World, and Oleg Boltin. He something about that guy. That's who I was drawn to this year.
Yeah. Like, let me know when you've caught up with the G1. I've got thoughts. I need to talk to you about them.
And Dave would then give me the background as to what things were happening, so he could fill in the blanks story-wise for me. And
we couldn't have it too like polar opposite either, because I'm a school teacher. So for me, the G1 is perfect because it's during the school holidays. Mm-hmm. So every single day, and because obviously in the UK these events are on at like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. for us. So get up in the morning, get a coffee, grab some breakfast, put the G1 on. Boom. What a way to start the day.
Ah, what a hell of a way to start the day.
Oh, that'd be such a good way to see it. I wish I could do it, and I would love to be able to sit down and watch it. But I think you're right as well about it being a true alternative. And I think as well, that's what I'm loving about, again, I've spoken about like the indies in the States and stuff like that. Like even here in the UK, there are at least 3 kind of big level indies in. You've got RevPro, you've got Progress, you've got the new one that's just started up called Burning Heart, which I think it might be the GYV guys, or at least affiliated. You've got New Wave Academy, which is we've got the guys who do. Is that the one that's Flash Morgan Webster, Dave? Is New Wave?
Yeah, so there's New Wave West Midlands, which is Flash Morgan Webster. And then there's New Wave in Wales, which is Brendan White.
Yeah, which had
between them, Wild Boar Mike Hitchman's involved, Danny Luna's involved. Like, it's a real kind of like a who's who of British wrestling. And then we've got OTT over in Ireland, haven't we? And North Wrestling, who like dominate the northern cities. That's
just in the UK alone, right? And then you go out to the States, where look, I've been looking at your cage match, Manders, and this is just what's on cage match, and I think it's 28 different promotions you've wrestled for this year alone. Which even to a stage, like I remember back in the days when you had your Ring of Honor, your PWGs. I think, who else was it? Was it Jersey City Wrestling? Like back in 2004, 2005 days when that was it, yeah. And they were like your big ones. You had like a lot of lower level, but like even now, like kind of what you've got out there, you've got your Revolvers, your GCWs, your House of Glory, DPW are finding a space in the market as well. And then you've got all of this stuff in between, like the ability to showcase yourself in such different promotions, different styles. I mean, we were talking, Dave and I have this real thing of when I'm watching someone new for the first time live, I go, do I want to do some research on them beforehand? Or do I just want to go and their performance is what I see? Like, it's two different things. I thought, well, you know what? I've seen a bit of yours before, and since we're chatting to you, it'd be really remiss of me not to watch the matches. And so I tried to pick a few different things, and I just loved everything that I was seeing. Like, match against Juice Robinson a few years ago, and that was just no. But here's the thing:
I forgot about that. Go ahead.
I was going to say I really enjoyed it, because then I watched the matches that followed on, the more recent matches from then, and again, you could see your progression. You could see the football roots in you as well, just the way like you charge, and I loved all that, knowing like kind of the background of where you've come from, and it was great to see kind of you mixing up with someone who is TV wrestler right now, who's New Japan. And I bet what you've just said there about New Japan, that must have fucking ruled to be in there with him, right?
It did, because fucking so lore of Juice Robinson, he like him and Rollins go way back. He's a Midwest guy. He was trained by Danny Daniels, who was the promoter of AAW, and he trained Rollins too, and like at the time, because I think I was like maybe 2-3 years in, and you know, when Danny saw something in me, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to wrestle him," and it's like, holy fuck, it's fucking Juice Robinson, who at that time he was fucking in New Japan, and like it's like I want to wrestle a guy like that, and then it makes you like these kind of things that happen sometimes. It makes you a good wrestler, because anybody can be a great wrestler when you know the match, you know who you're wrestling weeks on in before, and then you think of ideas, and then you do the match, or you call it before the show, plenty of hours and plenty of times before people come in, and then you do the match, and it's great. Not many instances at that time where Juice doesn't show up till match 1 starts, and we're match 3.
Wow.
So talk about, hey, here's an opportunity for you, but hey, also don't fuck it up. Where when you have these kind of pressures and anxieties, where to me now, I don't think that way at all. Like, I mean, yeah, would I want it to be that perfect-esque whatever thing I just said? Yeah, of course, but now it's like I know myself, and I know what I do, and it's not like I know what the other person does, because I mean I do, but also like I don't have those anxiety attacks, I guess would be the better word, because now I'm so comfortable of like, and I don't know if it's because of the football and things like that, where it's the awareness in the ring and the awareness of what you do So like now it's like if that happened now, which it would have happened yesterday if I would have made my flight, where because I got late, at the time or moment, it was like maybe the 1 hour or 2 hours when I was sitting on the runway. It was, hey, we're switching your match from 1 to 7. You'll get here around, 4:30. So then I'm doing the math in my brain where it's like, okay, I'm gonna get there when it's like match 5. So it's like, and it's like I don't really know Tate, but like I know what Tate does, and then I know what I do, and I'm not like freaking out about it. I'm gonna put my shit on. I'm gonna go work. So it's cool. It's cool. So yeah, juice rules. So that match was fun for me. But it's funny to go way back then because like, and that's why I was like, we're all this way. We're like our own worst critics. We're like, every fucking match I watch in me, I fucking hate it, right? But like,
you're human, right? Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, and like for me, back then, at the time when you're in that time period, you think you're good, or like you think you might have it figured out, and then like now you go to now where I think I'm good and I think I have it figured out, and I watch it back and I'm like, oh my god, why did I do this and that? And then it's gonna happen to me in the next 3 years, right? Where like I'll think I'm good, or I know a little more now, and then I'll watch my shit back from me and Luke Jacobs at 16 karat, and I'm like, why did I do that? Like, it's just So I think that's like the secret sauce or formula, I think, in life and in pro wrestling, where you never think that you like don't think that you think you have arrived, because you don't arrive until it's all over, until you stop, like, or you're dead or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's like constantly reflecting, and that's how you grow, right? By looking back and thinking, if I'm doing that again, what do I do differently? And controlling what you can control.
Absolutely.
It's such an important part of anything, like in any walk of life.
It really is.
One match that I went back and watched that I really, really enjoyed, and it's interesting because George and I were talking about it earlier, and we thought we'd watched the same match, and then we realised we hadn't. So George watched your dog collar match with Mad Dog Connolly, and I watched the Texas Bull Rope match. Like, what a pair of like brutal wars they were.
They were. They really
Absolutely.
were.
I was sitting down with my Greg's Steak Bake, which Greg's, that's another place you have to go to if you've never been. You'll love that. Get yourself a steak bake or a sausage roll at Greg's. Leo Rush will tell you all about them. Leo Rush loves it.
If Leo likes it, I'll probably like it too.
Yeah. But I sat myself down with my dinner ready to watch this dog collar match at lunchtime as well. So, but yeah, Dave, like you were saying, what were your thoughts on the match you watched?
Just like something that I really, really enjoyed in all the matches that I've watched you work, I really enjoy the idea that you don't waste motion and you don't waste energy when you're in the ring, so that when you hit and when you get that moment to hit your lariat, when you get that moment to hit that overhand chop, it delivers so much. And I always think that like there are matches that have so many moving parts and so many moves, and actually sometimes the simpler matches where everything really lands can be so much more impressive. I think it's a little bit like when a chef makes like a simple meal, but they make it perfectly, where there's nowhere to hide, and they just deliver that perfect plate of food. Those were my like takeaways from your matches. And as I was watching you, I have this habit of when I'm watching somebody for the first time and I'm watching their matches, I like to start to think, ooh, I'd like to see one called Manders versus Luke Jacobs. I'd like to see one called Manders versus Josh James. And then I start to think about like the outside the box. Like, I wonder so one called Manders versus Ricky Knight Jr. That would be a great match.
Yeah.
One called Manders What would one called Manders versus Michael Oku look like?
Yeah.
What would one called Manders versus Connor Mills look like? And when you start to take like styles clashes, so Michael Oku is a classic. Like he's a tall guy. He's like 6 foot tall, but he's slight framed and will wrestle from underneath. But he has a reversal for everything. Connor Mills is vicious, and he's a proper piss and vinegar wrestler. Will kick the shit out of anybody that gets in his path. And then you get like, what would one called Manders versus Robbie X look like? Against a 5'7" cruiserweight. Like, I love and you can tell because the more into the wrestler that I'm watching I am, the more of these like dream matches in my head start popping up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have the same thoughts.
We get to see 2 of them this weekend, and I get to see 2 of them live from ringside.
It's funny you said styles clashes, and those matches are my favorite.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, and it's not like this now, but it was like that when, or maybe it is like this now. I think, how do I put it? When you start wrestling for other promotions for the first time, they always it seems to be this way. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. It seems to be where the places where you want to be and you first start, they put you through the matches with the same similar styles of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I love matches like that. I think it's all wrestling. I love it. I love it all. But I do prefer more of the style clash kind of ideas because like there's so much you can do, and sometimes Hoss matches or strong style matches. Sometimes they can get You can get pigeonholed in that, and I feel like I'm not saying I'm fucking the greatest technician, chain wrestler, or flippy guy or anything like that. And I can do some of it, right? But am I going to be better than Will Ospreay or Zack Sabre Jr.? Probably not. But my point, what I'm getting is the styles clashes. I think is what's missing in wrestling, is because that's I don't know. That's like I feel like that's it. It makes it such an easier story to tell. Where like okay, you have speed and strength, or you have what's he going to do in this in this scenario. I think that shit's cool. I think I don't know. Yeah, that's my thought.
I would agree with what you're saying because I think one of the best matches we've had in RevPro this year was Robbie X versus Donovan Dijak. Like you couldn't get much different in terms of statures, styles. One of the best matches, and one of the matches I watched of yours, man, as well. I kind of got a similar-ish vibe from was against Zilla Fatu because he's a guy that you could see like could go almost blow for blow, but had this bit more of a high-flying style as well. So it's not just like you said the Hoss fight. And I have to say, first of all, I love that venue you guys were in. I'm gonna guess that was somewhere in the south because it just the neon lights at the bar and the liquid death sign, the brick walls with the chalk on it, like string lights, like that took me when I've been to Texas a few times, like that just took me right back there. So I loved seeing all that. But it was just that match was just so different compared to, like you said, it's not just Hoss versus Hoss where you've got 2 guys just trying to pound the shit out of each other. Sometimes it has a great place, right? Like on Saturday, you versus Luke in a sea of cruiserweight style matches. You've got 2 guys who can do something a bit different. But then when you've got a sea of people wrestling similar styles, having people do something interesting. The one that jumped out to me, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. There's a guy on the roster called Cesare, who is a 6'4" Spaniard who this time last year we'd never heard of. And RevPro went out to Barcelona, wrestled Michael Oku. He's 6'4", really slim frame, but built as well at the same time. Wrestles like an amateur wrestling style, technical, but just so different. And I was like, that's the match that I want to see because that is just so different to what like the Jacobs match would be. And yeah, I go through the same. I think I used to love like always seeing 2 of the best in a particular style go against it. But now I want to see more of the who are the ones you'd never expect to step a foot in the ring based on their styles and let them tell that story.
Fucking so that venue was Phoenix. So Phoenix, Arizona. So it is the southwest, I guess. That place is sick. It's the Nile Theater, I think.
I loved all the string lights. That was what I've
Yeah.
been to Dallas twice, and I spent a week out there for WrestleMania 32, and went to a few places, and it just reminded me so much of that. And I had some amazing times out there. So when I see venues like that, and that's what I love about independent wrestling, right? Is that all the venues look different. They don't look like arena wrestling. They've got character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Fucking Zilla's crazy, right? Like, obviously it's in his blood and all this shit, but like, I think at that time he had like maybe 15 matches.
Really?
Really? Yeah, 'cause he's only had like fucking 30 matches.
Yeah.
Nice.
Kind of crazy, right? Like, and I might break kayfabe here, but I don't think I really give a fuck. So, he did that springboard, right? And he slips.
Yeah.
And it's so fair because I would have the same goddamn thing. I would have slipped and fell, and I would have stayed on the ground, and I would have been like, "Fuck, I fucked that up, fuck," you know. And I've had it done to me. I've done it, you know, and I've seen people do it. And at that particular moment, I just like there's that other esque of like, hey, because I've done so many matches, or when people do so many matches, you because there's just like so many variables of like what defines as good, and then like yeah, like can you have a good match? Yes, but okay, can you listen? Okay, good. Okay, then it's the other way, shape, or form of like what defines as good is can you also lead? Not many people can do that, and like when he fucking slipped and fell, and I literally just went and grabbed him. I said, "Hey, you're a Nagi. Give me the regular spike." And I just fucking went and hoping that he would do it, and he fucking hit it, bam. And once he hit that big rock bottom, you're a Nagi, whatever you want to call it, everybody in the crowd forgot.
Yeah.
And I hate it when they do the, you know, you fucked up and like, yeah, like they're saying it as a chant. I feel like it's not really a.
I hate it.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it.
Fucking build the wrestlers up. Don't like.
Yeah.
For me, I get quite passionate about it. I go to a lot of wrestling shows. Like George said, I go to every RevPro show up and down the country. If what you're chanting is adding to the match, amazing. If you're trying to take away from the wrestler, then you're being a dick. Like all you're trying to do is pop the fans around you. I hate that. I'm very much like boo the bad guys, cheer the good guys. At the end of the day, they're all good guys. But like play into the roles of what's happening. And if somebody makes a mistake, of course that's going to happen. You're watching a one take only live performance. Of course that shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't draw attention to it.
And let's be honest, right? If you guys were like what we're supposed to watch or we're supposed to believe and buy into is that you guys are having a fight, right? In a fight, you're not going to hit everything perfect. Things are going to look a bit janky. And I think for me, what really comes up with it is how you guys, and what I really appreciate was that you see it a lot in wrestling there. Something doesn't go quite right. You know it's not gone right. And they just reset themselves to do the same thing back again. And you guys didn't. You just went, hey, we're going to go into the next thing. And that really came across well. And like you said, it didn't matter what had happened before because we're now into that spot. And yeah, it was great. And I really enjoyed that match as well.
Rather than going for the same spot again, it was finishing it in a unique way.
And that was great because, it was just allow it. It's not the whole, we've seen it before, right? Where someone goes for a top rope move, it doesn't work, and then they go back to it, right?
Yeah.
And that is one of those things for me as a fan, takes me out, right? I get what you're trying to do. You've got to finish. And hey, maybe like on WWE, I understand it more. You've got those people that go, we need this. But when you're out there in front of people and it doesn't go the way you want, okay, cool. Just find a unique way to get to where you want. And I thought that's what you guys did really well, because then what happened was, like you said, the Uranagi was hit and he just hit that spike and he looked like a fucking badass doing that spike. Like that's what I remember from it.
He really did.
I think like one thing that's like you said about leading the match and like leading that finish, like Zilla still looked class at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like he looked like a badass, and your finish that you like improvised gave him those optics. He gave him that reaction from the crowd. It still made him look like what the springboard would have done, and like that's like massive credit.
Yeah, man, and that is what is making me look forward to this weekend so much more.
Yeah, and you only learn those kind of things by being on the road, right? And then having guys, before you that were, that are better than you. Honestly, it's kind of just how it is. And Zilla's gonna be he's gonna be a tank someday. He already is a tank now, but you know what I mean. He's gonna be a superstar.
Yeah.
So him having that happen to him then and now, and it's in his blood. He's fucking. Because he don't run and move like a guy that's only had like 30 matches.
No, I was genuinely. I know he's a newer name for me because like it seems that every day like a new Fatu is popping up and going, oh, okay, there's another one. Yeah. And Zilla was one of those ones who just kind of went from zero to hype for me, like in terms of being able to have heard of them. So I knew that he was genuinely newer to the scene, but I didn't realize that new. So when you just said that, like the guy, I would believe that he's been going a few years, like by this point.
Yeah, he's a freak.
Absolutely. But you just mentioned there as well, like going out on the road and doing matches. I was saying to Dave, as you probably picked up on, he said it a lot. I'm the same. I like stats, right? I'm a stats guy. I like looking at things. And again, this is just good on Cage Match, so we know this is not the entire amount. Since the start of your career, there are 652 documented matches on Cage Match of yours alone. And that's with the fucking pandemic in there, and that's just like a testament, I think, and what we're saying there from looking at that Juice Robinson match. I know that you'll be your own biggest critic, right? And we've said like when I was 20, I thought I knew how life worked, and then at 30, I laughed at 20-year-old me, and now at 40, I laugh at 30-year-old me, right? We think we've got shit figured out, but like getting out on the road and doing those matches, like the transformation I've seen from that to where we are now is immense. And again, you've learned the ability, you said, like to be able to lead those matches and just going out there and having as many as you have. So I think there's that kind of, you've got the people, like you said, who want opportunities, and you've got the people like you who go out there and you just try and make the opportunities, which mean that when you've got a spot in a RevPro come up, you've got this catalogue of work across lots of different promotions, lots of different aims of what their crowd's trying to achieve as well. And you've just got a catalogue of matches you can go, watch this is my resume.
100,000 fucking %.
Nice.
It's all it is. Like there's exceptions to the rule. You can have guys like MJF who, once he was 3 years in, he was a champ everywhere, and now he's signed on TV. You just got people like that, or you got people like Zilla Fatu, who his dad, was Umaga, and it's just in his blood, right? And then you got like, I don't know. Trying to think. I don't know. Like
a Brock Anderson.
Yeah.
By like just reading interviews with him recently, where he's turned around and said that, do you know what? He wasn't ready for the spotlight that was given to him in AEW, and it was purely for the fact that he is an Anderson.
Yeah.
Like there are people that are born into it and don't have to, like, no disrespect to them at all, but they don't have to do the same level of grind as someone who is making themselves from nothing.
Yeah. And I think I'm one of those kind of people that if someone asked me if I do it all, would I do it all again? I would say yeah, and I would do it the same way I do it now.
Nice. Yeah.
So.
And I think that just that really screams to me from like the work that you'd have done with your football back in the day. Like you said, tape study, build yourself up, go out there, put the work in, and you're getting the rewards out of it. I mean, we've spoken at length about it, and we keep alluding to it. The Luke Jacobs match is going to be a great one, but equally on Sunday, Josh James. Like, I don't know if you know much about Josh, but he is a big lad. Like, Luke is a big lad, but Josh is bigger, and that's just
I didn't know who he was until my match was announced, and I went on a deep dive, and I go, I this isn't me knocking Luke because I've wrestled Luke and I know what it's gonna be like. But like when I watched his shit, I was like, oh shit, this is a whole nother kind of thing. If that makes any sense, what I'm saying. Like it just gave me like a, oh fuck, this is who I'm wrestling. Oh shit, like it's just like you can watch tape as much as you want, and like it does help, but the experience, like you ain't gonna know until you do it. And with Luke, it's like, okay, I at least know what that's like. I know it's gonna be gritty. I know it's gonna be fucking full of piss and vinegar, and I know it's gonna be fucking tough. And then it's the next night. It's Joshua James, and it's like, oh fuck, okay, this guy's bigger. This guy hits harder, like, or he hits hard too, and it's a whole nother can of worms that I don't know what it's gonna be like. I don't know how I'm gonna feel, So yeah.
He's got a real chip on his shoulder as well, Josh, because like he's worked his way up in RevPro. He spent the last few years kind of helping set up the shows, and when he wasn't in the ring, he'd be working working the shows from like ring crew and like crowd like stewarding and stuff like that. To the point now where he's like a fully fledged member of the team, and like a fully fledged member of the roster. But there are still people in the company who kind of like, there are wrestlers who still look at him as like a rookie, and there are wrestlers that still like look at him as kind of like somebody like at the start of their journey, where actually he's he's not a young lad. He's been doing this a long time. He's just like 2024 is the year where he's kind of like taking his chances and pushing himself to be bigger, stronger, like someone to be, I interviewed him a couple of months ago, and he was talking about the fact that, he wants to be undisputed British heavyweight champion. Like, there's no bones about it. It's, can he get a string of wins together to put himself into a position where Andy has to book him for a championship match? And like that, from sort of like a year ago, is massive. He wrestled Gabe Kidd. It was 1st of April, wasn't it? It was 1st of April down in Southampton. And it was like one of those kind of moments where you realise that you're watching two guys who are not worlds apart. Whereas had that match happened like a year ago, it would be like Gabe Kidd here, Josh James here. Whereas the gap's getting closer all the time, and Josh is growing, and he's one of these guys who is so big that he doesn't necessarily know his own strength yet.
Yeah.
And when he can fully utilize that, he's going to be unbeatable.
Yeah.
He's just an absolute tank.
Fuck.
Do you know what? It's one of those ones where when the Luke Jacobs match got announced, I was like, yeah, that's quality. I want to see Manders versus Luke Jacobs. Like, perfect. And then when the Josh James one got announced, it was like, ooh, I like that as well, because now we've got you and Luke, like the pressure's on Luke.
Yeah.
Like, he's the champion. He's the big dog. You're coming big game hunting in RevPro for Luke Jacobs. Yeah. But on the Sunday, it's like Josh James is that one. Josh James is hunting you on Sunday.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I would 100% agree with that. And that's it's not scared. It's not being scared, but that's fucking God, what's the word? It's lack of a better word, it's interesting, but it's like when you have guys like that who have they got nothing to lose, those are the people you have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
They're the most dangerous, right?
It's dangerous. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think that's what it is. And I think that's what I was trying to say earlier, where it's like, I know what Luke is because I've seen it and I've wrestled it and I've done it and I know he's this. But with a guy like Joshua James, I don't really know much about him, and I watch his matches, and sometimes like when you and I watched his matches from like a year ago,
Yeah,
and I know for a damn fact he's not the same person.
exactly.
And then I've heard, obviously from you guys, but then I've heard from, there's a couple Black and Brave kids in the UK that when that match got out, they messaged me and were like, "You're in for a treat," and they gave me his whole kind of story, and it was literally the same thing that you just said. So now it just makes me go, "Oh shit, okay, all right." Like it's basically, yeah, he's got something to prove, and it's not like I don't, because I do, but it's also like, yeah, it's literally what you said. It's dangerous. It really is, and sometimes those matches are. I love those matches. I love that pressure. Give it.
It's the weekend of piss and vinegar, isn't it? The weekend of piss and vinegar.
It's
Oh,
the week.
I love it.
Cannot wait for it.
No, it's going to be such a great weekend.
Yeah, I fucking need it after yesterday.
I'm just gutted that I'm only seeing half of it live in person, but that match on Saturday is just going to be fantastic. And as we look at the clock and start to wind down a little bit here, one of the things, Manders, I just wanted to post to you. So I don't know if you know about the event that RevPro has in October. It's called Global Wars, and it's effectively like the independent version of Forbidden Door. If you were to get booked on that show, who would you pick? Who would be one of the people you would want to wrestle?
Anyone in the world.
We're trying to manifest here. We say things on this podcast, and we've had a decent hit rate recently, haven't we, Dave? So we're just trying to manifest things.
There's been a few where we've kind of said, a match that we would love to see, and then weeks later it's announced. So you never know.
We're doing a bit of manifesting here.
I got two in my brain, but I think one of them is already announced. I think it's Luke and Ishii, is it not?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so like obviously Ishii would be the one, but I think I know you said everyone in the world, and but I think that one. I think me and Oku would be sick. I don't think people would expect that.
Nice, that would be good. Yeah, and I think it's again great that we've got something like that here. And if you were to upset Luke Jacobs on Saturday, what implications could that have for the match at Global Wars? Do we just go all out and do something that RevPro don't really do a lot of, and triple threat it? Luke Jacobs, Ishii, one called Manders. What a match that would be!
It's a dream match.
Oh,
God, that would be crazy.
With the RevPro schedule, that it's relentless. Like we've had 3 weeks off, which is why we're clamoring for this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But from this weekend, we've got like 6 weekends in a row of RevPro shows. Then I think there's a week off, and then it's another 6 weeks in a row. So that a win over Luke Jacobs, you've got plenty of shows ahead where you could be booked to come home and come back to the UK and have a title shot in front of a RevPro crowd.
Absolutely.
That would
be good.
That would be the cherry on top of all of this. So, yeah, I would love that. And I make no fucking mistake about it. I got that dog in me, and I ain't afraid to bite. So if we're biting that chance, and if I got to rip some flesh off to keep some to come back, there you go.
What a place to end the wrestle part, eh? Like that, you just can't put it better than that. And Manders, the final question that I have for you, and one that I really want to start asking people. I mean, we discussed earlier how wrestling's a bit of an art form, right? And one of the things I like about wrestling being an art form is other arts that I've found from wrestling. So I found a lot of music that I like from wrestling and people who've shared like books and films and stuff. Is there anything that you kind of like you'd like to share about interest that you've got, either with it being reading or film or music that you like to listen to, that someone might listen to and go, I'll give that a go? I mean, for me, it was listening to Dax Harwood talk about what's his name? I can't remember his name now. Country artist. He's got the mass tassel.
Oh, fucking
this is terrible. This is a terrible bit.
Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Don't look it up yet. I know it.
Of course it is. Yeah, I'm not going to say it, but
it's Orville Peck.
That's the one. So like that was something that really branched me out of my normal comfort zone of rock and heavy metal, and going, this is different to what I like, but it's cool. And I've tried to like branch into a bit of country from there. But is there anything like that you're reading, you're watching, you're listening to that you go, I want to share this with the world?
Yeah, I did it on the like GCW has a podcast. It's very similar to this, and they have like a weekly thing. And I kind of said it on there, and they were all like, "Holy fuck! Never put two and two together like that." And yeah, Orville Peck rules. By the way,
Yeah.
He I always think of Orville Redenbacher, the popcorn. That's how I try to figure. That's how I try to remember that, by the way. And yeah, Orville Peck's sick. He's like he's just a gay cowboy that fucking and he sings Elvis. It's fucking great.
It's great. I remember the first song I heard was Dead of Night, and that's the one that got me. And my wife said to me, she's like, this could be on a Tarantino film. And now I can't unhear that. And I'm just like, it's such good, like, unapologetically, it's like, I'll listen to these songs and just like, I really like it. And I used to have to travel for work. And sometimes, as you would know more than I would, but once a month I had to go and sit in a hotel room for 3 nights by myself. And I'd just sit and play his songs and loved it. Like, that was kind of my thing.
He, I think Effie is the one that we were driving somewhere and he started playing him, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And then we like went down to Lore. So like, imagine me and Effie down a highway on my truck, just fucking blaring Orville Peck. It was pretty great. But no, for me, and I think it kind of fits because I'm in the UK, I've been listening to it more. For me, and he's always been a fan. I've always been a fan of him, and I've always been a fan of their music. And I kind of said it earlier, I think, is Motorhead. And there's something about Lemmy to me that I've been trying to implicate in my wrestling, where it's the no nonsense, where I'm gonna hit you in the fucking mouth. It's gonna be loud. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be physical. It's gonna be maybe not necessarily fast, but like there's just something about him that just like the flying I don't give a fuck attitude. But he clearly cares about like his music and his way of life. But it's just like the going with the wind, and whether he's an outlaw or whatever, I guess. And I like to think myself the same because of my influences and just the way I grew up too. And like, yeah, he on the flight here to the UK, I listened to like his interview in like 1995, and just he's funny, and he's also like very fucking sarcastic, and it's just like, I don't know, he just kind of he doesn't really have like doesn't kiss your ass. There's no like filter on him, but like it's not like he's there screaming motherfucker this, motherfucker that. It's just he just gives you his opinion, and it's the realest thing, and it's so raw to me. And I feel like I've been doing it lately, but like I've been really pressing on it in my matches. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I've been lucky enough to see Motorhead perform a few times. And the thing that they would do is they would just come on stage and go, we're Motorhead and we play rock and roll. And they just launch into like an assault. And it's like, they're just coming out setting this all, this is me, this is what I'm about. And like you said, it's just setting out who you are, using that spirit of this is what I'm about and putting that into your matches. That's what they did in the music. And then they were placing to blow your fucking head off. And you come after and you go, that was fucking awesome. Like, and that's, And what a great spirit, like that punk metal rock spirit of just, I like the aggression that goes into that.
And that's like, if you really think about it, like the American cowboy and punk is very similar, where it's what's an outlaw? It's somebody that doesn't like live in the rules in the realm of whatever it is. Like that's what defines is that. And I just like it just makes fucking sense to me. I don't know. It just does.
You know what? That's never a comparison that I've heard of before, but you know what? That makes so much fucking sense to me hearing you say that.
Or like maybe not the American cowboy, but like outlaw country, like with guys like Waylon and like Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson and Willie, where like I just watched this video with Willie where I didn't even think about this because Willie's so goddamn old. I can say this now because he's like 91. So
I'll let you off with that one. As long as it's not taking the piss out of me, you're fine.
So Willie didn't really make it big till he was like 42 or 43.
Shit, I've got time yet, guys.
And that's fucking wild to me. Where like here's a guy who, he started music when he was in his 20s. And he didn't make it till he was 42, 43. And it wasn't till he said, fuck Nashville, fuck the system, I'm moving to Austin, and I'm doing my own thing. And it was that rock and roll, I'm giving you what I don't know. It was just like, it just made me, so like, I think that outlaw country-esque and then like the Lemmy, they do blend together and in black and all that kind of shit. And I just like, I don't know. Yeah.
Love that. Well,
Absolutely love that.
Manders, I just want to say again, thank you as we approach the end here. Thank you so much for your time. Like, this has genuinely been a blast, and I can't remember the last time I've had this much fun sitting on the bloody video call. Like, video calls take up so much of our lives now, just in general day-to-day stuff. So to actually get to sit and chat about wrestling for nearly 2 hours has been an absolute blast. Before we kind of go over the matches, is there anything you want to plug? I've got your merch address on screen already, but is there anything you want to plug, anything you want to say before we finish up?
Before I drop in the merch stuff and other things, I thought it was funny that when Luke won the RevPro title, he fucking came out to Wanted Dead or Alive.
Yes, he did.
And look, there's the part of me that goes, this motherfucker. And then there's the second part of me that goes, Steve, that's a very famous song. And a lot of fucking people play it. And it plays all the time. And it's pop mainstream, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even think about this. Dr. Tom Pritchard came out to that when he was on the Indies. I did not know that. And so it shows you that, there will be other people that will do it too. But I do find it fitting, and I think it's funny. So, yeah.
Maybe you just come out to a Motorhead song at the weekend.
I thought about that, actually. It's funny you say that. I thought about that. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we will. But yeah, I got Big Cartel. If you want to, it's onecallmanders.bigcartel.com, and then I got Cameo too. Been doing those. It's kind of funny. And then yeah, that's about it, man. You can follow me at @1called_Manders on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it's called, and Instagram. Yeah.
Nice. And will you be selling merch at the shows this weekend?
Oh, goddamn right I am.
Excellent. Well, guys, there you go. I will be at that merch table on Saturday. I can tell you that. But if you're not there live, we've got up on screen onecallmanders.bigcartel.com. Gentlemen, it has been an absolute blast getting to chat wrestling with you. This Saturday, J Cup, Luke Jacobs versus One Called Manders. Sunday in Sheffield, One Called Manders versus, I almost said Joshua James. Too many JJs in RevPro. If you want to watch them all, RevProOnDemand.com is the place to do it. And if you are unsure about whether to attend live, this chat should be all you need to go, I need to be in the venue. 20-ish pounds a ticket, the best value in pro wrestling that you're going to get. Gentlemen, it has been fun. We're out of here. Catch you later.